and welcome to episode 48 of Life in General. My name is Nick.
I am Ian.
Look at that, Ian had a little passion in his voice.
Yes.
For once, he wasn't Mr. Robot at the beginning of the show.
I don't know where you get the robot thing.
Because I have to give you shit about something.
Yeah, but I mean, you come up with something better than that.
I mean, I probably could, I guess.
Yeah, you
Whatever.
could. You could. You're better than this, Nick. You're better.
Am I really?
No.
Okay. As always, you can email us any questions or comments to contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. Check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. Ian, what's our Twitter handle?
LIG. Wait, @LIG Pod.
Good.
It only took 48 episodes.
Job. Ian got it. So yeah, we are at LIG Pod on Twitter. We're on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio, Spotify, just about everywhere else.
Yeah, did you say Podbean?
I did.
Good.
I think that was the first one I said.
It might have been. I don't listen.
Good job fucking listening to me, jackass.
Hey.
What?
I'm winning today. I got our Twitter handle right.
Yeah.
I am winning.
Yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are. And always check out our website, which is, Ian, do you know what our website is at least? You got this right last time.
Did I? Life in General Podcast.com?
Yes, sir. You are 2 for 2 for tonight.
Hey, life is good. I'm
I'm
winning
so
at life, not
I am so smart.
SMRT.
Yeah, so check us out on our website and all that. All of our previous episodes are on there, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some Star Wars tonight.
Yeah.
But before we get into that,
we talk about
I need to talk. I didn't want to talk about this, but I feel the need to talk about Brett Kavanaugh.
Talk away.
You
can never talk too much about sexual predators.
We've actually talked about sexual predators quite a bit on this show, haven't we?
We have actually. Yeah.
We have a couple episodes.
Well, we're in the age of all the sexual predators being outed.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Yes. It doesn't seem to be doing anything to them.
So
presidents.
Yeah, that's true.
Supreme Court.
That's the funny thing is you don't hear anything about 13 allegations against President Trump.
Oh yeah, he brought it up. He said something like, I know what it's like. People accuse me of this shit all the time. Essentially, is what you're saying. In his own stupid way.
Yeah. So before the confirmation hearings and all that started, when these allegations first came out, I know we had talked privately about it, and I was skeptical of the allegations. I found them to be very convenient. I thought that it was some kind of there was politics. The accusations weren't completely false, but I think there was a political motive behind all of it,
right?
And the timing and the way that was unfolding. After listening to his testimony, that motherfucker's guilty. I mean, it's just like that all went out the window.
You sent me a text that day too. You're like, or no, it was at work. You messaged me. This guy's guilty as shit, or something like that.
He is guilty as shit. Just the way he acted. She was a lot more believable than he was.
Absolutely.
And some of the stuff was, I mean, it was just a flat out lie. I mean, now granted, it's really hard to prove some of the stuff that he was lying about,
right.
Like boofing being flatulence.
Right.
I grew up in the 80s, and boofing was a sexual reference when I was a kid.
Right. Which is when this would have happened.
It was 82, I think, 82, is when it was alleged to happen.
Yeah. Devil's Triangle.
The Devil's Triangle. That was a threesome with 2 guys and 1 girl. And it has been for a very long time, as long as now granted, I didn't know that in the 80s, but
right. But it was back then.
So yeah, and just the way he acted, his body language. I mean, it just.
Well, he oozes that preppy frat boy.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Was
his picture from back then, he just oozes it.
If there's ever a Supreme Court nominee that screamed privileged Washington elite, it's Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
I mean, because here's a guy who he got into Yale as a legacy student because his grandfather graduated from there. As far as I know, the guy never even really was a practicing attorney.
Yeah, I don't know.
He offered legal advice and analysis on several high-profile cases, one of them being the 2000 Florida presidential election recount.
Wow, that's a surprise.
Yeah, big surprise. And then it was kind of surprising that he went on after that to go work in George W. Bush's...
well, he provided some legal counsel for Ken Starr, didn't he?
Well, I was going to get into that.
Yeah.
So he was actually part of Ken Starr's brain trust.
Yes.
During the whole Whitewater investigation, and he actually drafted the questions that they asked President Clinton in his deposition. And there was a memo, like an interoffice memo that Kavanaugh had written that I read not too long ago. I think it was after all the confirmation hearing and all that stuff last week. But it talked about how that President Clinton disgraced his office, the legal system, and the American people with his actions. Okay.
Oh, right.
And so he drafted the questions that was asked of President Clinton. He didn't ask the questions. There was another set of attorneys that asked the questions. But they actually ended up watering down a lot of the questions because they felt that the questions that Brett Kavanaugh had asked or written down were unnecessarily graphic in nature.
Well, I mean, it'd be like questioning a murder suspect instead of saying, "Did you murder this person?" They say, "How did you murder this person?" And it's kind of setting up.
But no, it was like overly
or did
graphic.
You use a knife to
it was overly graphic sexually.
Right, but I know. I'm just using it as an analogy. It's like setting him up where no matter what he says, he looks guilty too. Did you murder this person with a knife? No. Oh, but you murdered him with something else. I see. You've confessed. That kind of a thing.
And the other thing is, he was the section of the Starr report that Brett Kavanaugh wrote was the section that actually laid out the legal reasoning for impeaching the president.
Right. On the sexual grounds.
Well, it wasn't on the sexual grounds. It was
lying about sex.
Lying under oath.
About a sexual encounter, yes.
Which, there's a... Did he lie under oath? Yes. Mm-hmm. Is that an impeachable offense, though?
I don't know. Ask me again when Trump's on the same situation, if he ever were. It's I don't know if perjury. It's a felony, right?
It is,
and by the standard of the law, doesn't a president committing a felony doesn't that justify impeachment?
Not necessarily.
Okay, I don't know the law that well, so
it really depends on the circumstances around it, I believe.
These are the questions that you would ask, that I would ask.
Yeah. So, and the president said something to the effect of Brett Kavanaugh is the most qualified person ever to be elected for the Supreme Court.
Who said that?
The President Trump.
Oh, so it must be true.
So I kind of looked back at this guy's history. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of a law clerk for on the U.S. Court of Appeals Third Circuit from 90 to 91. After that, he went on to clerk of the Court of Appeals Ninth Circuit, and that was 91 to 92. He had some kind of a summer associate law jobs after that. Really, there's nothing really of note until 93 to 94. He was actually a clerk for Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy, which is who he's going to replace.
Yeah, he's replacing. There's no question.
So we're recording this on a Friday night. It's almost a guarantee that he's going to be.
Oh yeah,
confirmed.
They've been saying that too. When I was driving here, I was listening to this Cognitive Dissonance, the podcast I listen to weekly. They come out on Monday. They record on Thursday.
Yeah.
So they recorded it when the hearings were going on.
Mm-hmm.
So this was this past Monday's episode recorded a week ago Thursday.
Yeah.
And they were saying the same thing. They're like, if he's not confirmed by the end of the weekend or by the beginning of next week, we'd be shocked. And of course he hasn't been, but it's only a matter of time. I mean, we all know it's coming.
Then 94 to 98, he was counsel for the Office of Independent Counsel, kind of star. Mm-hmm. So that was 94 to 98. 97 to 2001, he was a partner at the law firm of Kirkland and Ellis, which is where he did a lot of advising for several large cases, but nothing really. There's no legislative. There's no courtroom history there for him, really. And then 2001 to 2003, he was associate White House counsel for George Bush. Mm-hmm. And then 2003 to 2006, he was White House staff secretary. And then he was on the Court of Appeals. I wouldn't necessarily say so. You were never really an attorney. You clerked. You advised. And
he was like a lawyer groupie.
And then he was automatically a judge.
Yeah.
So you can't sit here and say this is the most qualified person. He's never fucking tried a case.
So he's like, oh God, what's that guy's name? I don't know. He's a hairdresser in Hollywood, and then like he took his money and just became a movie producer. Like overnight.
Sure, yeah, why not?
That's essentially what he did. He's like, oh, I cut their hair, so now I can make movies.
Yeah,
and it's some of the movies he's responsible for is like Wild Wild West with Will Smith.
Oh, geez, he
owned the Superman franchise.
Really?
Yeah, and Batman too. I think he produced Batman.
I
can't remember his name, John something. Oh well, but that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
So I don't know. It just it's not surprising to me that they would put this kind of person on the Supreme Court. But it's funny if you look at all
this day and age.
If you look at all the so the president's going to nominate a conservative justice, a conservative judge.
Right.
There's dozens of different people he could choose from, but he picked this guy.
Right. Well, you know why? Because this is the only guy who said that a sitting president can't be indicted under his legal understanding or opinion, whatever.
Yeah, under criminal or civil cases.
Right. That's why he picked him, and that's why they forced this. Because any other president would have given up on this guy
a long time ago.
Yeah. That's the only reason he's still there, and it's the only reason he's going to get confirmed.
Yeah.
Under the circumstances.
So it'll be interesting.
But it's a sad day in this country when we have a sexual predator both as a president and as a chief justice of the Supreme Court.
Well, he's not chief justice, but
or a justice of the Supreme Court, and granted, we may already have this. May be the second one, second sexual predator on the court.
I wouldn't say. I'm assuming you're referencing Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, that's why I said maybe.
I wouldn't say he's a sexual predator.
He was an alleged sexual predator.
He was.
You do it once, you're a predator. I'm sorry, I don't care.
Well,
I mean, let's face it. There are a lot of things in this world that are just easy. Assaulting women, not assaulting women, is an easy thing not to do. Yeah. It's just natural. It's like breathing. But, that's just me.
I wouldn't go along the line of saying sexual predator just because there's not, as far as anyone knows, it was just
that
Anita Hill.
Well, Brett Kavanaugh is a sexual predator. Allegedly.
Yeah, because it's
President Trump is a sexual predator to his own admission, essentially.
Yeah.
So
with Kavanaugh, though, you could see he just seems like a really fucking sleazy
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, he oozes that I don't know,
elitist
frat boy. Yeah. I can do no wrong. Whatever I do is fine. Because you can't do anything to stop me.
So I mean, I just wanted to say that real quick.
And any opportunity I get to say Brett Kavanaugh's a piece of garbage, and the person who nominated him is too, and anyone who votes for him is. I don't care. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. They vote for him, they're garbage too.
Yeah. So on our topic, which is Star Wars,
right.
And I don't even know why I really kind of thought about this.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember how you worded it too like the state of Star Wars after Last Jedi and Han Solo performance or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but so Solo didn't do very well.
No, it actually lost money technically.
I don't think it really did.
No, it did. It did. Once you figure in advertising and everything, it lost money.
How much do you think they spent on? See, that's because they reshot a lot of the fucking movies.
It cost almost over $300 million to make because they had to they reshot 80%.
I was really surprised how little money, how little it did worldwide. It did $400 million worldwide, which is really kind of surprising.
Right, and that's what I mean. Once you figure in advertising and everything, that's...
When Rogue One did over $1 billion.
Right. And I love Rogue One, but I think Solo is a better movie, personally.
I think it is, too.
At least it's more enjoyable to watch, because I think Rogue One it's a darker film anyway.
Yeah. So kind of the way I was looking at it, where does the franchise go post Episode 9?
Well, it's going into TV. Well, streaming.
Yeah.
They just announced the title of the live-action TV show that Jon Favreau is doing, because it starts filming.
And what's that going to... Is that going to be on... That's going to be on Disney's streaming service.
Yes. It's called...
Which they haven't announced anything about that yet.
They haven't announced a date. They've only just started filming this. It's called The Mandalorian, and it takes place after Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I get the vibe that it's like a space western, with The Mandalorian is
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find the description. It's a very vague description, but it is a description nevertheless.
Yeah.
Of the show. You still have Rian Johnson's proposed trilogy. That's still going forward. You have the series. They haven't specified if it's a series of 2 or a series of 10 or what. From the guys who did Game of Thrones.
Do you think they're going to do any more standalone movies?
They have it hasn't been officially said, but it hasn't been officially denied either. They're pretty much putting at least a temporary hold on the standalones. Do
you think? I was kind of thinking of this today, earlier today. Do you think the cult following that Star Wars has, do you think it hurts the franchise?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Do you think the cult following that Star Wars has? Do you think it hurts the franchise?
No, I think it's kept the franchise.
I think it hurt because I think it hurt Solo.
It hurt. Well, it hurts. It's not the cult following, because the cult following that has existed since the beginning is still solid. It's the age we live in, where even in everyone's opinion has to be out there, which is fine, but we've kind of we've talked about it like with politics and stuff. My opinion means your opinion sucks, and I'm going to tell you your opinion sucks, and no one can have a conversation about anything.
Yeah.
So what you get is The Last Jedi, which is a very divisive movie, and you get people who hated it, people who loved it. There's nothing in the middle. And then
that was my pop this time.
Yeah. And instead of having a conversation amongst each other about, well, this is what I didn't like, this is what I did like, they just said, it ruined Star Wars, I want to redo.
Well, and
then everyone else, you're stupid, because they were. And then they just fight. There's no common ground. And it's an American thing, but it's huge in the fanboy industry too, because not even with Star Wars. But that's what I'm
talking about. That's what I mean
it's not Star Wars fans, it's fanboys.
But the cult following, if you look at the cult following that it has, it's if you basically rely on your cult following to watch your movies, and there's a chunk of it that says, fuck you, we're not going to go see your movie, it hurts your sales like it has.
Right.
Whereas if you have a series that's maybe more that appeals to a wider selection of people, you're able to draw in casual fans.
There's a danger. There's a danger of that too.
That's why. I think that was the kind of the issue with Solo was, it's not. Solo was a movie made for Star Wars fans.
Right.
It wasn't, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people hated about the new Star Trek movies, is they weren't movies made for Star Trek fans. They were made as movies to appeal to a broader selection of people.
But that was also the time when you didn't have this kind of thing, And for a long time, Star Wars and Star Trek fans were very opposed to one another. There was huge polarization.
It's strange, but
now there's a lot of overlap, and I think, I don't know. I grew up with the original Star Wars, and I've always been a fan of both. So I don't understand.
Me too.
I don't understand the division there, but because like you said, they're two separate things. There really shouldn't be any competition between the two. That being said, you run the risk when you start thinking we need to attract more people. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a business at the end of the day. But you either risk alienating your cult by changing it too much. Or you risk changing it so much altogether that it's not even what it was before.
And I'm not saying they should have changed Solo.
Right.
Because I think Solo is a fantastic movie.
Right. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's...
But what I'm saying is when you have a following like Star Wars has, and you basically rely on that group of fans to come see a movie like that, and a section of them decides they're not going to, that's what hurt their numbers.
Personally, I think with Solo,
you couldn't. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, those movies appeal to a broader selection of people. You didn't have to be a Star Wars fan to go see those movies. I'm not saying you necessarily had to be a Star Wars fan to see Solo, but generally, only Star Wars fans were going to go see a movie like Solo.
Well, you could say the same thing about Rogue One.
Yeah, but Rogue One wasn't. When I watched that movie, the issues I had with that movie was it didn't really seem like, to me, it wasn't a Star Wars movie. It was a movie that took place that had some Star Wars stuff in it, but it was completely separate. I know
that was the whole goal of,
but that's why
separating it from the saga films.
And that's why I think that's why Rogue One I think did the numbers it did. Sorry. Because it's still, even though it was a Star Wars movie, it was able to appeal to a wider selection of people. Where I think Solo, because of the characters in it and what it was trying to portray, I think you were only you weren't able to bring in all those outside fringe fans. I think. You
don't think that the backlash from Last Jedi had a lot to do with Solo's bad numbers, more so than just not attracting the Star Wars fans? Because I would think that if you're going to attract Star Wars fans,
because
non-Star Wars fans,
outside of the Star Wars fandom circle, there wasn't a whole lot of backlash against.
There was a considerable amount of backlash all over the place. I actually think that it was 50% fanboys and 50% people who just don't get Star Wars, who went in there expecting to see a remake of Empire Strikes Back, much like Force Awakens was a remake of A New Hope, and were disappointed that they didn't get that.
Yeah.
The casual, Force Awakens was that, this should be this. My biggest problem is the fanboys with that, because the ones who bitch about The Last Jedi are the ones who say, yeah, Force Awakens was good, but it was too much, it was too repetitive and too derivative of A New Hope. And then you get Last Jedi, which is completely fucking different. Exactly what they were bitching about Force Awakens not being, and it's too fucking different.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like. I don't like that. And then bitching about shit. They were trashing Solo almost a year before it came out. You don't trash something you haven't seen yet. Yeah. And that's where the fanboys are the worst. Same with, and it's not just Star Wars. Doctor Who. They announce a female doctor. Half the fucking people go, "Oh, I'm never watching this again."
Well, the same thing. I think that's the case with pretty much anything, though. They're talking about having a black James Bond, and people are losing their shit over that.
Which is stupid. Why can't you just, if you don't like it, don't go fucking see it.
Didn't I send you the link?
You did.
Did you ever read the comments on there?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they were bad. They were bad. Yeah.
James Bond is a character that can change.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with that.
According to the article I sent you, all the comments on there kept saying, well, James Bond is white.
So what?
Exactly.
James Bond has always been white. Doesn't mean he has to still be white.
The thing I also thought was really funny was there was quite a few comments in that article I sent you where they also said, James Bond is white and Scottish. And I said, well, no. There's only one Scottish actor to play James Bond.
Right.
Fucking dumbasses.
Right.
But anyway.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Who else was Scottish? It was just
I'm just thinking. Sean Connery, you're right. Yeah, he's probably the only one.
I don't know what George Lazenby was English. No?
Yeah.
No? Or who was someone was Australian. Who was Australian?
Oh, that had to be Lazenby then.
Yeah. There was one of them was Australian.
The only other ones there's Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, and Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
So it had to be George Lazenby.
Yeah.
It was Australian. But still. That's even worse than being Scottish. Because at least Scottish is part of the same landmass.
Yes.
But yeah,
I think you get that with any kind of
you do,
group.
And it's but see, in this day and age where it's attacked, a lot of the complaints I heard about Last Jedi was that it was too SJW because of the portrayal of the women in the movie. I don't see
really?
it. Yeah, They really pull Admiral Haldo's character as like the cornerstone for that. I'm like, where are you people getting this shit? And the same thing with the Doctor Who thing.
Yeah, I don't get that.
They're just doing it as a social justice thing. So what? Even if that were true, and there is fault on the Doctor Who side of it, and I see it with Star Trek too right now. If you're gonna do things,
don't force it.
If you're going to have a female doctor, fine. Just have a fucking female doctor. Just do it.
Yeah.
Who cares? If you're going to have a black James Bond, don't talk about it. Don't say, the first black James Bond, this is going to be historic. No, just fucking do it and make it normal.
I think he'd be a really good James Bond,
He's a really good actor. It doesn't matter what you give him. He'll probably do really good with it. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So a lot of that flack that I've read isn't even so much about how different Last Jedi was, but it was that social justice stuff. And I kind of forgot where I was going. I get really angry about that.
I could tell because you pounded on the desk.
Yeah, it bothers me when people criticize shit they haven't seen yet. Yeah. I actually heard people in person saying they weren't going to go see Solo because of Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's all out on the internet, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But I did actually hear real people saying that.
Kind of like when people like bash albums before they ever listen to it.
Right, or bands before they've ever heard, or they've heard one song by a band, and then they.
I'm looking at you, by the way.
I've never bashed a band based on one song. I've never done that. I've bashed a band based on one album.
You bash artists for the genre of music they play, but
No, what I've said is that genre of music doesn't appeal to me. I have bashed certain specific people within those, but not because of the genre they're in, because of the type of people they are. Or at least appear to be. Real quick, I found that very short.
Yeah. Before I interrupted you like 15 minutes ago. Yeah, go ahead.
The Mandalorian. It's a new start. It's the first live action Star Wars TV show. It says we follow the travails of a lone gunfighter in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from the authority of the New Republic. Both Mandalorian and its bounty hunters have been hugely popular. Oh, that's just describing it, but. And then it does go on to say that it takes place after the fall of the Empire and before the emergence of the First Order.
Okay. That sounds interesting. I mean, I'll check it out.
There's a picture, too. This is, they released a photo of...
That's surprising.
From production.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a picture of a Mandalorian. If you don't know what a Mandalorian is, Boba Fett, as a Mandalorian. So it's kind of his helmet and his kind of get up, but it's different and it looks, I don't know. I'm excited for it.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
I'm going to get Disney streaming just for the Star Wars shit.
And I don't think it's going to be that expensive. They're saying it's going to be cheaper than Netflix.
Right. Well, it better because the options, regardless of the Disney vault,
thinking
you still have a lot less to work with.
$7 a month, maybe something like that.
Yeah, it's not going to be that much. Like I said, I'm going to get it. So
because Disney they pushed out their ESPN streaming service first to kind of do like as a test run,
right?
And that's $5 a month. So
and that's even less content.
Well, and that's a shitload. Actually, it's probably
it's live content though. It's not like
shows. No, they do have shows and stuff on there too. They've got like
documentaries and stuff.
Yeah, okay. That kind of stuff. So yeah, they've got a huge catalog on ESPN.
Well, and I guess if you throw in like old Disney shows, like I'm sure they'll have. You can probably go back and watch the original DuckTales on there, and
I'm not
old
sure.
Catalog.
I'm not sure. So that's why I'm thinking $6, $7, maybe $8 a month.
Yeah, it'll be worth it. For me, it'll be worth it just for the Star Wars content.
Yeah,
because they've got the Mandalorian.
I already pay too much for fucking streaming services.
I know, I do too. But they'll have the Mandalorian. They're going to have the final season of Clone Wars, which wasn't done when it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. They're actually going to have the closure that we all wanted.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new Star Wars cartoon starting this weekend.
Oh, is there?
It's called Star Wars Resistance.
And what's that going to be out on?
That's on XD, Disney XD. So that's regular cable. Yeah. If you have it, not every provider has XD, but
most of them do.
I think most of them do, and sometimes you have to pay extra for it depending on who your provider is,
or depending on the package that comes in.
Yeah, exactly. I think I have it. I don't think I've ever watched it, to be honest with you. Although Rebels was on it. But it looks pretty good too. People have been complaining a little bit about the animation. I actually kind of think the animation's really cool. It's kind of a mix between little bit CGI with kind of an anime feel to it. It's actually, it looks pretty neat.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
It is geared for kids, but so is Rebels, and so is Clone Wars, and I don't think those shows suffered for that.
No.
So I can't see this one. This one might be a little bit more goofy, but from what I read, it takes place 6 months before The Force Awakens. Poe Dameron's in it. There's going to be an episode with Princess or General Leia in it. Yeah. Captain Phasma's in it. I'm sure we'll see Kylo Ren and all that too. So.
Kind of going back to talking about Solo, though, if you look at, so I've got the Rotten Tomatoes scores up, and I mean, I liked the second trilogy, which was the episode 1, 2, and 3. Right. I thought they're good movies. They're
for what they are.
For what they are, they're not fantastic, but they're good movies.
They're very flawed, but they still work.
Surprisingly enough, Solo's kind of in that range, though. So Solo has a 71 on Rotten Tomatoes. The Phantom Menace is a 55. Attack of the Clones is a 66. Revenge of the Sith is a 79. Which that makes sense, because I think they did get better as they went along.
Some would argue that Attack of the Clones was the worst. I don't know
really?
if I feel that. Yeah,
I don't feel that way.
I've seen that.
I feel like the Phantom Menace is the worst, outside of Darth Maul.
Right. And then, no, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of problems with the Phantom Menace, but there's a lot of good things in it, too.
Yeah.
The pod race for the time period, that was state of the art. Special effects and action sequences and stuff. And Darth Maul, yeah, absolutely.
And as well as Rogue One did at the box office, like I said before, they did a little over $1 billion in the box office. Rotten Tomatoes, they only got an 85.
Really?
Yeah. So so it's actually one of the lowest ratings for a Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have problems with it, and like I said, it's not a perfect film. But it's a fun film. It's fun to watch, and it doesn't. None of the flaws take it out of the canon, so it's not like you can't watch it with the rest of the series.
What we're talking about? Rogue One or
Solo?
Oh, Solo.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Same with Rogue One. I mean, for me, Rogue One is just like the opening chapter to A New Hope, because it literally opens or ends with the opening of A New Hope.
Yeah. Which that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that. And that scene with Darth Vader.
I didn't like the CGI Princess Leia at the end of it, but
whatever. So you just don't like CGI.
That
doesn't bother me.
I don't like shitty looking CGI. Let me say that.
I mean, they haven't perfected that.
I know,
level
but
yet.
I've seen some really good CGI, really good CGI, and then I saw like really shitty CGI, like a fucking deer on the side of the road in three billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri, or wherever it is.
Yeah,
that was really shitty.
That
deer didn't even have a shadow.
CGI elimination of Henry Cavill's mustache.
Superman's mustache. God, I hated that. Yeah, that was terrible.
That was terrible. It's almost like they put someone else's face on his mouth.
It just made him look weird.
Yeah, it did. Rumor has it he's not going to be Superman anymore. They keep going back and forth.
I did see that not too long ago.
Warner Brothers says they haven't decided that yet, but
I like him as Superman.
And there's no hard feelings. His contract's up anyway. It's going to be coming up. That's why
he's probably like the third best Superman.
Well, nothing beats Christopher Reeve, because he was the first. He was my first. Yeah, he wasn't the first, but he was my first.
He was your first.
He was my Superman. So, and he was, as far as I mean, I'm not to discredit a lot of the other actors who played Superman, but he was the one who, kind of personified the character in his real life.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, as much as on the screen. And I don't think those movies would have worked if it had been someone else.
No.
The guy they got playing Superman on TV isn't bad right now. Tyler Hoechlin. He was in that show Teen Wolf.
Never saw it.
But and he's only been Superman a couple times in the Supergirl show, but he's not bad. He's for what it is, and I don't know. I don't really rank the Supermans, because I mean they're either good or they're not. Yeah. Dean Cain never really worked for me.
No, he never did.
So yeah, I don't think much of him. He's actually guest starred on Supergirl as a different character, and he's good on that. So I mean, it's not his. It's just him.
See, but that's Superman. The thing. That's the thing I think that hurts DC. Not to get like way fucking off topic,
right?
Here, but,
well, it kind of ties together, because it's all the fan. It's genre stuff.
Well, but the thing that has hurt DC, I think, is the inconsistency. Well,
because they rushed everything. They had no plan. No plan. Marvel was planned for 10 fucking years.
Probably more than that.
More than that. They had a plan. DC said, we have these superheroes. We want Marvel money.
Yeah.
So let's just throw something together. They didn't fucking plan.
It's not a different Captain America. Every 2 or 3 movies. You know.
Well, and for that, what it's worth, I mean,
there's no consistency with DC.
With Man of Steel. That Man of Steel is Iron Man. That's the first movie in the cinematic universe that they're trying to create, which is fine. But then you don't jump ahead and say, well, Batman was around for 10 years before that.
Yeah.
And not have any backstory.
No, because you need to.
And then jump directly in your 4th movie, jump right into the fucking Justice League.
Yeah, and when we reviewed that on Entertainment Now, that was the kind of the issue I had with it. Was they needed to, if they would just
develop these characters the way Marvel did with theirs. Yeah, that would have been the key. But and I think a lot of Star Wars problems are kind of bad planning too.
Yeah.
I think they just jumped into it. At least as far as directors go, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, which came with Star Wars, they were like, well, we're gonna do what we're doing with Marvel. We're gonna have a plan. We're gonna do these movies. We're gonna do episodes 7, 8, 9. That's easy. Then we're gonna do standalones, and those are just movies that fit in the canon. Great. There's nothing wrong with that. But they wanted to do it with up and coming directors, new directors, and that caused problems. You have Rian Johnson, who's a good director, but he's an independent.
Yeah.
He's probably the success story, even though he's not, because of the backlash. But he's the success story. They had Colin Trevorrow signed up for episode 9. He's gone. J.J. Abrams, they had to bring him back in.
Yeah.
They had Lord Miller.
Which I think he's done a really good job.
I think he's the right person to do episode 9 after episode 8.
Yeah.
If episode 8 had been different, I would have disagreed with that. But,
yeah. Okay.
Then you had Lord Miller, who filmed 50% of Solo and then were fired.
Yeah.
Or 60%, whatever it was.
I mean, I wonder. Oh, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
The idea is that you got these people who have their ideas of what their Star Wars is. It may not fit with the fans, but that's not what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
Star Wars, you can't apply the same Marvel mentality to it because it's more localized.
You can't apply that to anything.
You could, but you have to do it right.
Yeah. Take 20 years and develop it.
Right. With Marvel, you can bring in the Russo brothers and say, okay, we pitch us a Captain America movie.
Yeah.
A sequel. And they can say, well, this is kind of what we're going for. We like this idea. We're going to work with it. Okay, well, this is the guidelines you have to work in. Do your story. And then they do it. And it works. What they did with Star Wars was you had all these people coming in saying, oh, I grew up on Star Wars. I can do Star Wars. I've always wanted. This is my dream job.
Yeah.
I want to do Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then
where was your plan?
Exactly. They didn't say, okay, well, you can do it in this box.
Yeah.
This is what we're working with.
Yep.
Because this is why I say with J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams probably had a plan for 7, 8, 9. But he did not convey that to Rian Johnson, or if he did, Lucasfilm did not tell him that Rian Johnson had to work within this confines. And to Rian Johnson's defense, J.J. Abrams said back then he put a lot of shit in Force Awakens he didn't have any plan for.
Really?
Yeah, he had no idea where Rey's gonna go, where the character Rey was gonna go, who Snoke was, who the Knights of Ren were.
Yeah,
none of that. All he knew is what that movie is all he knew going forward. Mm-hmm. And after that, he gave Rian Johnson some thoughts that he had beyond that.
Yeah,
that was it. But Lucasfilm never said, "Okay, well, you have to use J.J. Abrams' ideas." These, he gave you ideas, then work within those. They said, "Do your thing."
Yeah.
And that's, again, it's fine. It works in other things, but you can't have that kind of cowboy mentality.
Inconsistency.
When you're trying to build a universe or add on to a universe.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
So that's where they went wrong. It has, and And I don't even think they've misstepped that much.
No.
Because I love The Last Jedi. I really do. I love The Last Jedi. It's
okay.
I've said a million times, it's not the Star Wars movie I wanted, but it's probably the Star Wars movie I needed.
Yeah.
Because it altered my perceptions to what Star Wars could be down the road.
It definitely opens up a lot of different avenues,
yes.
For sure. And the issues I have with the movie are really small, and there's only like 3 of them.
Yeah.
They're really big to me, but I just don't like the way that they
handled Luke.
That was probably my biggest issue with the movie.
I didn't agree with it either, but that's life. That's kind of what I meant by perception. When you're dealing with these mythologies,
and I'm fine with them killing him off. Don't fucking kill him off like that, though.
Right. But see, no, that's what I mean, though. He interjects where Lucas never would have done that. Lucas would have had him killed in a heroic way, or he would have had him die of old age. Because that's how he's killed all of his heroes.
Yeah.
Always. Lucas never would have done that. We needed a Star Wars movie that George Lucas wouldn't have done. Now, granted, he wouldn't have done The Force Awakens either, because Lucas doesn't, to his credit, he rarely repeated himself.
Yeah.
Even with the prequels, he did his best to make sure that we saw new things, and it was always something new. Whereas The Force Awakens was really very repetitive. But it was safe. And Lucas still would have made a safe movie. If he came in and did Episode 7, it would have been a safe movie. It would have been different, but it would have been safe. Nothing about The Last Jedi is safe. And nothing about it is what Lucas would have done. That's why it's the movie we needed.
Yeah.
Going forward, now you can play around with things. Now you can do whatever you want.
It's almost like a blank slate.
In a sense, it refreshes things.
Yeah.
Like I said, it gives you more perspective on the universe as a whole. So that's why I like The Last Jedi. I have no problem. I don't like the way they handle Luke. I wanted to see Luke die in a blaze of glory in Episode 9. We still may.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of rumors.
Like?
Well, Mark Hamill starts filming next week.
Yeah, but that could be a lot of different things.
His filming schedule is a lot heavier than just being a Force ghost.
Really?
Unless he's a Force ghost in 3/4 of the movie, which has never been done before.
No, but I don't know.
And that's a little risky for Jake.
I don't know. I'll leave it open and see. I'll enter the movie theater with an open mind on it.
Well, let's just put it this way: if you were less than satisfied with The Last Jedi, you're going in to see a movie that's following that up by people who were less than thrilled with The Last Jedi.
I wonder how much
J.J. Abrams, he won't say it out loud, but he did not approve of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Because it basically threw everything he did out.
Oh, yeah.
And in many ways, it was even blatantly insulting his movie.
His vision?
His vision. Right at the beginning, when Snoke tells Kylo Ren to take that ridiculous mask off, that's Rian Johnson talking to J.J. Abrams.
I like the mask.
I didn't have a problem with the mask either, even though it's repetitive. But that's Rian Johnson saying, "You're not Darth Vader.
Yeah.
This is not a Darth Vader replacement. We're going to make him something different. Get that fucking mask off of him and make him a real villain."
Yeah.
And he did.
Mm-hmm.
He did that.
Yeah.
He was successful there. So, but yeah, it's blatant. It's right there. There's a similar thing in Justice League. You know, Joss Whedon came in and directed a lot of it after Zack Snyder's situation. Right at the beginning,
wasn't his son died or something?
His daughter.
His daughter? Okay. Oh, that's what it was.
There's a homeless man holding a sign. It just says, "It's not my fault." People think that's
really?
Joss Whedon.
That's funny.
Saying that I did my best with this. I can't fix it.
What movie was that?
Justice League.
Oh, see, I like Justice League.
Honestly, it didn't hold up for me on subsequent viewings.
Really?
Yeah, I've watched it twice since the theater.
It's still rushed. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
it's rushed, just like Suicide Squad was rushed.
I would
like
be
Suicide
interested.
Squad,
they're never going to do it, but I would be interested to see Zack Snyder's cut, or at least some of his vision kind of added back in. If they did like an ultimate cut, like they did with Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman, I might appreciate it better. But as it stands, I haven't enjoyed it.
Really,
Batman v Superman, I've enjoyed rewatching. Maybe not as much as the first time I saw it, but it hasn't dwindled that much. Justice League has suffered.
That's funny. I like the. I don't think there's any DC movies that I don't like.
Oh, I didn't dislike it. It just doesn't.
I have Man of Steel. I haven't watched it.
Man of Steel's good. I have problems with that one though too,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that. I give that a out of a 10, I'd give that a 7.5 or an 8.
Yeah.
But I still have issues with it.
Yeah, Justice League just felt rushed. Justice League could have been like an extra. If you weren't going to have all those built-in stories like Marvel does, add 45 minutes to the movie, make it a really long fucking movie,
Right.
and kind of do it.
Lord of the Rings style.
Yeah, I guess.
In a sense, yeah. Well, just having a long chapter
Yeah.
in the series. But well, and then that's going back to Star Wars. There's some rumors going around, and I actually prefer this idea. I don't think it would happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But given the circumstances, given the fact that J.J. Abrams is going into Episode 9 with the idea of fixing what are perceived problems with The Last Jedi, they've talked about, there's rumors going around that splitting it into 2 films.
Oh, really?
And there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. But the problem with doing that in a saga series where there's episode numbers...
Yeah. How do you do
that without just saying it's episode 10?
Yeah.
And if you're going to do that, just film episode 9 and 10 back to back and just let them out. I would actually prefer that. Not to get an extra Star Wars movie out of it, but I don't like the idea that you have to hold these into trilogies. Why does it have to be a trilogy, first of all?
Because that's what Star Wars does.
Second of all, if he's going to be fixing and changing plot lines,
he's going to need more time.
He's going to need more than 2.5 hours
exactly.
to do it without. Not only that, but he's also closing the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be the end of the Skywalker saga going forward. If you've got to do,
we think.
No, they've all said it. Kathleen Kennedy, to their credit, if they say something, it's usually set in stone. Doesn't mean that they won't do other sagas, but they'll be different sagas. And they'd probably start with an episode 1 rather than episode 10 or whatever.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess so.
So and there's nothing wrong with that either. But if you're taking on the mantle of closing out a 9-story saga, or whatever number it is, but you're doing the last one,
9 or 10, whatever,
the very last one, on top of having to now fix plot holes from the last one that was episode 8 or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be it's a hell of a task.
You need 2 movies to do it.
I think you're probably right.
Unless you're just going to do episode 9 and not worry about those plot holes. I mean,
that's also possible.
But just go along with it.
Okay,
Skywalker's
it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Skywalker's a Force ghost. Rey's parents are junk dealers who died. Paupers.
Yeah, I had issues with that also.
Me too. And that's the big rumor that's been going around that's going to change.
And that's something that's really easy to change.
Exactly, because Kylo Ren was lying to her.
Yes,
that's easy. That's a very simple thing to do. And there is precedent for that I think could be used to save Skywalker's life if they wanted to have him alive in Episode 9. It's a cheat, but it has been done. And it's been done in the animated series.
What's that?
I don't really know how to explain it. It was in Rebels.
That's something that works really good on podcasting.
Well, because you're dealing with a lot of stuff that maybe the casual listener or casual Star Wars fan wouldn't get you.
So what you're saying, there is a way.
There is a fix. If you want to understand what I'm talking about, just watch the last episode, the final episode of season 4 of Rebels.
Okay, all right.
I'm pretty sure it was in that one. So, but a character perceived to be dead or should have been dead was saved from death in a clever way for that. It could be used again.
Okay,
it would still be a cheat, but it could be done.
Real quick before we finish up, do you think Solo will have any impact on Episode 9 as far as box office wise?
I think if it does, it'll be a positive.
Really? You think so?
Yes, because people who sat out Solo will go see the new Star Wars for 2 reasons. One, this is a real Star Wars movie.
Gotcha. So 2, Star Wars snobs.
Yeah. Or 2, they're going to go out to see it because it's now been 2 years since they've seen a Star Wars movie, whereas Solo came out 6 months after The Last Jedi.
Okay. So maybe Solo, another thing that could have impacted Solo is just Star Wars fatigue.
Well, that's what Bob Iger said. head of Disney.
Yeah.
He says maybe we're doing too fast.
And there's definitely some truth to that, maybe.
If that were true, we would have already seen superhero fatigue with Marvel, and we haven't.
Yeah, because it's not.
It's the same thing. It's the same argument. They went from doing 1 a year to doing 2 or 3 a year. Now they're
but here's the thing, though.
They were doing
but
4 a year.
But it's not doing 4 Avengers movies every year.
No, but this wasn't either.
Yes and no. It's all the kind of the same. I mean, I understand where you're trying to go with it,
right?
But there's a big difference between Captain America to Ant-Man to the Black Panther,
and there's a big difference between Force Awakens to Rogue One,
to
Last Jedi.
Not as much.
Not as much, perhaps, but
not as
I don't see it. If you're putting out, and this is the argument that I make for why we don't have the superhero fatigue with Marvel, is if you're consistently putting out good movies, no one's going to get fatigued because everyone wants to go see a good fucking movie. If you put out good Star Wars movies, you can put one out every year and you're fine.
They did. Solo is a really fucking good movie.
Well, yeah, I don't think they've made a bad one yet.
Solo, to me, is probably one of my top 5 Star Wars movies. It's in the top half.
I really would have to. I have to sit down and re-rank them, and it's tough to do when you got new stuff coming out. And Star Wars isn't gonna. I think Star Wars has a future in television.
Yeah.
I mean, just in this day and age, because they're approaching it. 10 episodes of The Mandalorian is going to cost $100 million.
That's insane.
That's what they pay. That's what a season of Game of Thrones costs.
Yeah.
So it's not that unheard of.
I guess not.
So I don't know how they can make a fortune on The Mandalorian on streaming, because I mean, I don't know how that generates. You know, you can say, well, The Mandalorian we're going to premiere it on this day and we get this X amount of subscribers the day before. Sure, maybe you can equate it then, but I don't know. Because if you're providing,
they're hoping that there's millions of people that
and there
subscribe
will be,
to the
regardless of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, but additional that subscribe to it just for that series. Just like CBS did with Star Trek. There was millions of people that subscribed to that service just for Star Trek.
And I, as someone who is really looking forward to season 2 of Discovery, I still don't find myself getting CBS All Access.
But there's a lot of people out there that have.
Yeah. Oh, no. They said so. They said Star Trek was a success.
Yeah.
As a flagship show for their
service.
For their service, it was a success. Whereas I don't like Disney movies generally, but I'm going to pay Disney to have those shows.
Depends on how much the service is.
Well, right. I mean, if it's exorbitant, no, I'm not going to do it. If it's over $12 a month, I'm not. It
won't be there. From the last thing I read on it, they said it will be cheaper than
Netflix. So Netflix is $11 a month.
I think their starting package is $8 a month.
Right. Well, what do you need for? See, that's that. Now you're starting to get into packages. That starts pissing me off.
Why?
Because then it's like, what are you paying for?
Less commercials.
There shouldn't be fucking commercials at all.
Why not? They're making money.
It's a streaming service.
Okay.
You're paying.
I understand that you're a TV snob.
I'm not a TV snob.
Yes, you fucking are.
You're comfortable with them raping you.
They're not raping me. I have no fucking problem with commercials. I don't have any problem with commercials.
It cuts into the story. Something's happening. Boom. Now I got to see baby wipes and laundry. Then they jump back in. Not only
90 seconds. It's okay.
Yeah, it's 90 seconds of 30 minutes.
You will survive.
For a 30-minute show, you're watching 20 minutes of show.
Okay, do you think they're going to say, "Oh, we're not putting commercials in this, so we're going to make it a little fucking longer"?
If I'm paying for it, they shouldn't put commercials in it.
I don't really see that.
Because they're double dipping. They're saying you have to pay us to watch this program. Now you also have to pay us to watch these commercials.
The only time I have a problem with commercials is on YouTube when there's a commercial every 15 seconds.
But those are all free videos.
So
you're paying for the service of watching those videos for free.
Okay.
That's why I don't have a problem with commercials on network television. If I'm watching network television, I'm not paying them to watch that show.
Yeah, I don't have, like I said, unless it's in a crazy amount of commercials, I don't have a problem with it.
If I'm paying them to have their service, just their service, then there should be no fucking commercials. They can show a preview of their own programming, if they want, at the beginning of the show and at the end of the fucking show. That's as much as I would allow if I'm already fucking paying them. Otherwise, I'll just wait for fucking DVD.
Okay, wait
What's
for
the point?
DVD then.
Or, like a lot of people, because it's becoming a big problem again, I'll fucking pirate it. Like, people are starting to do again.
It's actually getting harder to find quality.
In the same way that we knew about it. Yeah. It's changing. Piracy's coming back, and it's starting to come back in a big way because of things like that, where they're double dipping you, because they're making money off of you and they're making money off of the advertising, all for one product. It's double dipping. It's a form of rape, in my opinion, and it shouldn't be allowed.
I wouldn't equate it to rape.
No, that was inappropriate. However, it's still wrong. If I am paying you for the service to watch this program, I better not have to watch a fucking laundry detergent commercial in the middle of it.
Well,
because if I pirated it, I wouldn't have to.
Well, I mean, you're right, but it's not. Yeah, like I said, it's still, unless it's a crazy amount of commercials. Because most of the time, it's not. It's only a couple, and then it's over.
Because it's Disney. This is what I find acceptable. Right before The Mandalorian, you can advertise a Disney product.
It's nice to know that's what you find acceptable.
And right at the end of the show, you can advertise
I'm
another
sure Disney really gives a shit about what
Disney,
Ian Trumbo, find acceptable.
As much as I want to watch this show, if I buy the service and I go to watch The Mandalorian and there's fucking commercials in the middle of that show, I will cancel my subscription.
There probably won't be.
I will cancel my subscription the next day. I will fucking cancel it.
Because with most streaming services, there aren't commercials.
Right.
I think it's just.
But that's my point.
It's just Hulu and Netflix, but because I don't think CBS All Access has commercials either.
I don't think so either. Like I said, I won't. Star Trek is the only show on CBS I'll watch right now. Okay. Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone's coming out on there too.
Oh, really? Well, that might be
worth it. I might consider it then. But I'm not going to pay $5 a month just to watch one show.
No.
Whereas with Disney, they're going to be doing original Marvel shows.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
There's going to be other Star Wars shows.
There's going to be lots of new content.
And there are some Disney movies that I enjoy watching once in a while, like Mary Poppins.
Some that you even sometimes cry at. You know, it's okay, Ian.
E.T. was not a Disney movie. First of all,
that's true.
And Up, the beginning of Up, I got a little teary-eyed at the beginning of Up because I'm human and I have emotions.
Oh, give me a break. Emotions, my ass.
Oh, sometimes.
All right, Ian. Well, anything else you want to add?
No. After my little diatribe there, my rant on commercial.
Yeah, that shit always drives me crazy. But all right, yeah. I think the future of Star Wars is
safe. It's
safe. But I don't know if safe is a good thing.
Well, it's safe in the sense that they're not just saying, "Okay, fuck this, Star Wars. We made our money back. It's even keel." Because they made more than their money back on it.
Yeah,
already.
They definitely have a future, but it'll be interesting to see what direction it goes.
I mean, it's not a small future. Like I said, you've got a whole trilogy from Rian Johnson. You've got whatever the Game of Thrones guys are doing, which they just call it a series of movies. They're not saying it's
Game of Star Wars.
Right. Well, wouldn't it be? It couldn't be Game of Thrones, but you could have the throne with all the lightsabers on it. That'd be pretty cool. So, I don't know. No,
all right. That's. I guess.
But I mean, Star Wars is going forward, and there's going to be content.
Yeah.
Like I said, TV shows, Clone Wars, Resistance starting this Sunday, The Mandalorian. The series by the Game of Thrones guys, the Rian Johnson trilogy. We still have episode 9, possibly episode 9 and 10. I'm hoping, fingers crossed.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see how it all plays out. But.
I mean, hell, if 10 was good enough for the 10 Commandments, why can't you have 10 episodes?
Oh, give me a fucking break.
I'm just saying.
On that note, any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter and all that nonsense. And check out our website. Mm-hmm. Well, that's about all I got.
That's all I got, too.
All right.
Fight against commercials, people. If you pay for it once, you shouldn't have to pay for it again. Public service announcement, the more you know.
Fucking dumbass. All right. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you two cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bruh. We taking the dub, hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you the god, Billy. Oh shit. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement.